Hey everyone, welcome back. We're doing Siddhartha Chapter 9. This is video 2. Again, this is RJK English on Facebook. You can see all my videos here. In a second, you would see my my other video. Let's go back to the book and keep reading. Siddhartha is talking to Vasudeva, who is the ferryman. I thank you, said Siddhartha. I thank you and accept. He accepts that he will go stay with Vasudeva. I also thank you, Vasudeva, for listening so well. There are few people who know how to listen, and I have not met anybody who can do so like you. I will also learn from you in this respect. You will learn it, said Vasudeva, but not from me. The river has taught me to listen, and you will learn from it too. The river knows everything. One can learn everything from it. You have already learned from the river that it is good to strive downwards, to sink, to seek the depths. The rich and distinguished Siddhartha will become a rower. Siddhartha, the learned Brahmin, will become a ferryman. You have also learned this from the river. You will learn other things too. This is somewhat deep, like a river, right? Everything's coming low, from heights to low. After a long pause, Siddhartha said, What other thing, Vasudeva? Excuse me. Vasudeva rose. It has grown late, he said. Let us go to bed. I cannot tell you what the other thing is, my friend. You will find out. Perhaps you already know. I'm not a learned man. I do not know how to talk or think. I only know how to listen and be devout. Devout is to really follow a religion. And for Vasudeva, that is the river and his job, what he does. I am not a learned man. I don't know how to talk and think. I only know how to listen and be devout. Otherwise, I have learned nothing. If I could talk and teach, I would perhaps be a teacher. But as it is, I am only a ferryman, and it is my task to take people across this river. I have taken thousands of people across, and to all of them, my river has been nothing but a hindrance on their journey. They have traveled for money and business, to weddings, on pilgrimages. The river has been in their way, and the ferryman was there to take them quickly across the obstacle. You notice, to other people, the river looks like an obstacle, something just to get across. That's not how it looks to the ferryman who works and lives there. However, amongst the thousands, there have been a few, 4 or 5, to whom the river was not an obstacle. They have heard its voice and listened to it, and the river has become holy to them, and it has, as it has to me. Let us go to bed, Siddhartha. Siddhartha stayed with the ferryman and learned how to look after the boat, and when there was nothing to do at the ferry, he worked in the rice field with Vasudeva, gathered wood, and picked fruit from the banana trees. He learned how to make oars, how to improve the boat, and to make baskets. He was pleased with everything that he did and learned, and the days and months passed quickly. But he learned more from the river than Vasudeva could teach him. There's a mistype here. He learned from it continually. Above all, he learned from it how to listen with a still heart, with waiting, open soul, without passion, without desire, without judgment, without opinions. Who does this sound like? Where has he met someone that was like this? The Buddha, right? The Buddha was like this. He was still. He waited. He had an open soul. He was without passion, without desire, without judgment, without opinions. The Buddha was somewhat like this, right? But the Buddha, when he did learn, he did teach correctly. He taught how to live. But that's not the way Vasudeva teaches. That's not how the river teaches, right? That's kind of an interesting parallel. He lived happily with Vasudeva, and occasionally they exchanged words, few and long considered words. So they speak little. I used to know people from Finland, and they didn't talk a whole lot, and they valued not talking a lot. This is a generalization, but my Finnish friend told me that When he was in Finland, he would spend a weekend with his father and brother, and they would say nothing to each other. So means that these Vasudeva and Siddhartha do. They don't talk. They just do, and they're with each other. Vasudeva was no friend of words. Siddhartha was rarely successful in moving him to speak. He once asked him, "Have you also learned that secret from the river, that there is no such thing as time?" No, Siddhartha's asking. A bright smile spread over Vasudeva's face. "Yes, Siddhartha, is this what you mean? That the river is everywhere at the same time, at the source and at the mouth, at the waterfall, at the ferry, at the current, in the ocean and in the mountains, everywhere, and that the present only exists for it, not the shadow of the past, nor the shadow of the future." This is quite deep. We try to think of time as a river that's always flowing forward. But the fact is, the river stays the river, right? The river is at the mouth of the river. The river is at the source of the river. The river is in between. The river is in the mountains. The river is in the valley. So he's saying for the river, it's always the present. It's never the future and the past. That's quite a striking image. Okay, that is it, said Siddhartha. And when I learned that, I reviewed my life, and it also was a river. So now one person's life is a river. I reviewed my life, and it was also a river. And Siddhartha the boy, Siddhartha the mature man, and Siddhartha the old man were only separated by shadows, not through reality. Siddhartha's previous lives were also not in the past, and his death and his return to Brahma are not in the future. Nothing was, nothing will be. Everything has reality and presence. Siddhartha spoke with delight, so he's very happy to know this. This discovery had made him very happy. Was then not all sorrow in time, all self-torment and fear in time? Okay, so only in time is sorrow and torment. What does that mean? It's only temporary, and then it ends. It's only temporary, and then it ends, right? Were not all difficulties and evil in the world conquered as soon as one conquered time? As soon as one dispelled time? He had spoken with delight, but Vasudeva just smiled radiantly at him and nodded his agreement. He stroked Siddhartha's shoulder and returned to his work. And once again, when the river swelled during the rainy season and roared loudly, Siddhartha said, "Is it not true, my friend, that the river has many voices, the very many voices? Has it not the voice of a king, of a warrior, of a bull, of a night bird, of a pregnant woman, and a sighing man, and a thousand other voices?" "It is so," nodded Vasudeva. "The voices of all living creatures are in its voice." "And do you know," continued Siddhartha, "what word it pronounces when one is successful in hearing all its 10,000 voices at the same time?" Vasudeva laughed joyously. He bent towards Siddhartha and whispered the holy Om in his ear. And this is just what Siddhartha had heard. Okay, so what are the things we've learned of the river? It's outside of time because it's always present. There's no beginning and end for it. That's not totally true. There's a beginning and end of the river, right? But it's in many places at once. And so it experiences something one place when it also experiences something elsewhere. So the idea is that within time, that's where you have suffering. When you get outside of time, you don't have suffering anymore. Okay? The other is that in the river are many voices. You know, when it goes over the rapids, it's loud. Then it can be soft. Then it can be troubled. You know, so it can have all these voices. And they think they hear, when all of those voices come together, they hear the Om. And what is the Om? The Om is the basis of all reality. When devout Hindus pronounce Om, they are saying the sound that is the basis of all reality, that we are built from, that all of reality is built from. Okay, they're getting to the source. Okay, so we're going to stop here. Why is Vasudeva so happy? because he couldn't teach this to anyone. And yet he's found someone that hears the same things he learned from the river. We like this when we meet someone that has experienced the same things in life. Maybe not the same things in life we have, but they've learned things from life, deep things, and they know it, and we look at them and we know they know it. This is why when someone goes through extreme grief, maybe they lost their child or lost a parent, no one can comfort them. In the book, The Little Prince or Le Petit Prince, um, uh, at one point the prince is sad, and I forget who's with him that says this, but it says, I think it's just the writer says that grief is a lonely place. Grief is somewhere where you live alone. Well, what does a grieving person appreciate? When they meet someone else that has gone through grief, because they know that person knows that there's nothing that can help them. And there's something comforting from being around that other grieving person. In the same way, Vasudeva learns something from the river, and he's delighted to have someone else that hears the river's voice and learns the same from him. Okay, we're going to stop here. We'll start on the next, and I think we'll might be able to finish this chapter. I think we'll be able to finish this chapter next time. All right, see you next time. Make sure to like and subscribe. It will help me a lot. All right, see you.